One of the most common myths I hear about being environmentally friendly is that one person cannot make a difference, and that is far from the truth. I do agree that governments carry way more responsibility on climate change for not taking action, but as individuals we can only influence our government so much. On the other hand, we have a lot more control of how we live our personal lives, which directly correlates to how many emissions we produce on an individual level. In the US, the average person emits 15.5 tons of carbon dioxide every year, and that's one of the highest rates in the world compared to the average of 4 tons. But if you do the things that I'm about to tell you, then you will be able to cut your emissions by half, if not more. Here are 20 easy ways to be environmentally friendly. Count how many of these you are doing and then comment below how many things you can do better. 1. Switch to LED bulbs. LED bulbs, which stands for light emitting diode, can produce the same brightness as any other light bulb but with way less power. They use almost half the power of a fluorescent bulb, and they don't waste a ton of energy on heat like incandescent light bulbs do. As a bonus, they tend to last much longer than incandescent and fluorescent bulbs. You could find plenty of LED bulbs at a Walmart or any other store. 2. Buy green electricity. You don't have to put expensive solar panels on your roof and completely rewire your electrical system, unless the power to cost ratio is big enough. Instead, you can purchase clean energy from your current utility company. Go to their website and see if you can get units from clean power sources that feed into the grid. It does mean that you will likely have to pay a little bit extra, but it's easier than completely altering your electricity source. But do your research about power generation sources in your area before making these payments, because a lot of utility companies could use these as scams for extra money. But if it works out, go for it. 3. Take it easy on the thermostat. The biggest consumer of energy in your home or apartment is the air conditioner. Think about all of the space that the air takes up inside, and you have to adjust the air temperature of every single pocket of air. When you cool your house, you are also pumping hot air out to the environment, and vice versa, which also contributes to climate change. During the summer months, consider increasing the temperature up a few degrees to 75 Fahrenheit and 65 in the weather. Yes, it is a little bit less comfy, but you'll save a lot of energy and a massive chunk of your electrical bill, and to me that's a win. 4. Wash your clothes in cold water. When you wash your clothes, the largest chunk of energy goes into heating the water, but the reality is that your clothes don't get much cleaner in warm water versus cold water, so you may as well use cold water and save energy. You just have to change the setting on your washer with a few clicks and that's it. 5. Dry your clothes in the sun instead of the dryer. After you've washed your clothes in cold water, don't put them in the dryer. Just like the air conditioner, it takes a ton of energy to generate heat and remove the moisture from your clothes. Instead, you can get a drying rack and put the clothes in the sun, like how most people around the world do it without access to a dryer. The sun is literally a free dryer for you, and it gets the job done just as easily for you. But of course, check the weather outside before you do it, but it would work very well on a sunny day, especially in the summer. 6. Stop buying clothes you don't need. I think a lot of us at some point in our lives have gone on shopping sprees, especially on days like Black Friday and near Christmas. Guess what we tend to buy the most? It's the clothes that we get. I get that we want to look good, but fast fashion has become so big that it takes a giant toll on the environment. It takes up landfills, produces a ton of carbon dioxide, consumes a lot of water, the list goes on. Instead of getting new clothes and items in general, I think we should make better use of the things that we already have at home and make them last as long as possible. If you want to learn more about how consumerism impacts the environment, click the video in the top right. 7. Unplug your devices when you aren't using them. Your devices may be off, but if they are plugged into an outlet, they are still drawing power, which is being wasted. So after you've turned them off, take a second to unplug them too, especially at night when you don't use them. The more devices you're able to unplug, the more electricity and money you'll save. 8. Recycle. I know, you've already heard this one a million times, but I still have to bring it up because in the US, only about 33% of the products that can be recycled are actually put into recycling bins. If you've got paper, cardboard, or metal, go ahead and put it into recycling instead of the trash can. These materials can be easily reused, so there's no need to dig for more of them. 9. Avoid plastic at all costs. You may have noticed that I did not say to recycle your plastic in the last tip, and there's a reason for that. Plastic is recyclable, but unfortunately, most of the plastic that we use is never recycled because it's a lot cheaper to just throw it away and make more of it. So more often than not, our plastic ends up in landfills, or worse, it ends up in the oceans where it will probably never be picked up. So avoid plastic at all costs. A great place to start out is by taking your own bags to the grocery store or any other store you go to. If you want to learn some more ways about how to minimize your plastic consumption, check out the video on the top right. 10. Eat less meat and dairy. I'm not telling you to go vegetarian or vegan, although doing so would be very beneficial for the environment. But instead, I'm telling you to be mindful of your food choices and see where you can cut back on animal products which contribute the most to environmental damage. By eating more plant-based foods, not only will you lower your emissions, but you will also boost your health and prevent many innocent animals from being slaughtered. There are plenty of tasty plant-based recipes on YouTube and Pinterest. If you want to learn more about how to transition to a plant-based diet, check out the video on the top right. 11. Eat all the food on your plate. Besides eating a lot of animal foods, another big problem with food is that we throw a lot of it away. In the United States, we throw away an average of 40% of the food on our plate, and it takes up more space in landfills than anything else we throw away. That's pretty insane. The answer to this one is pretty simple. Don't eat more than you can handle. If you're too full to finish your meals, store it away for a later time instead of throwing it in the trash. You'll have meals for other days in the week, and you'll save a lot of money on groceries and eating out. 12. Start composting. If there's one thing that we throw away more than anything, it's our food scraps. The banana peels, the apple cores, the vegetable stems, you name it. But instead of throwing that into the landfill where it will just rot with everything else, why not put it towards composting? There are two ways you can do this. The first is if you already have a garden. You can dig small holes around your garden to compost, or you can have a dedicated composting container or pit. The other way to compost is to simply take your compost to a composting center in your town. Just do a quick Google search to see where the nearest one is, put everything into a compostable bag, and drop it off there. It's just like throwing your trash away, but instead you're recycling it back into the environment. 13. Work remotely. We live in an age where the internet has completely exploded, and especially after the pandemic, a lot of us have the option of working remotely. Not only will you save a lot of time and gas that it takes to commute to work, but you'll also consume a lot less energy by working at home rather than in an office. 14. Walk or bike to work. For those of us who have to go to the office, we don't always need a car to get there. Living car-free is much better for the environment than having an electric car. So an alternative to driving is to walk or ride a bike to work. It's free of emissions and it gives you some solid exercise, which most of us don't get during the day. 15. Use public transportation. Sometimes work is just too far away, so walking or biking isn't possible. The other option is to use public transportation, which is usually free or at least cheaper than owning a personal vehicle, especially for those of us who live in cities. Not only is it much more efficient from an emissions perspective, but you can get to more places than just work with public transit. So if you live in a city or in an urban space, take advantage of your public transportation options. Save fuel and money for yourself. 16. Vote. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, we can only influence our government so much. But if there's one thing we can do, it's that we can choose our leaders. We can choose to elect people who care about climate change, who will push for renewables and will push for stronger climate action. These people are definitely harder to find today than in the 2000s and earlier, but they still exist. So go out and vote when elections happen, because one of the biggest challenges with elections in the US today is that almost 40% of people don't vote at all. Your vote counts, so make your voice heard. 17. Join protests. The next best way to make your voice heard to governments is to join protests. Successful protests are those that have a strong message and keep going until changes are actually made. And there are plenty of climate protests out there for you to join, especially for pushing towards renewables, which is arguably the biggest roadblock towards solving climate change. So find a protest near you and march with people who support the environment just like you do. 18. Consider having fewer children. I'm not telling you to alter your family plans, but you should be mindful that overpopulation is already a massive global issue. We have already made it to nearly 8 billion people on Earth in 2022, and that number is expected to reach between 10 and 11 billion within this century. The more people on Earth, the higher the demand for resources and the more that is consumed, especially in developed countries like the United States. However, if we can limit the amount of children that we have, we can also limit the amount of emissions produced and the resources consumed. The US population certainly grows at a slower rate than a lot of African and Asian countries, but we also consume a lot more than they do. So while we definitely should pass on our genes, it's also important to be mindful of the environmental impact that having a big family can have on the planet. 19. Learn about climate change. Climate change is always a growing topic, so one of the best things you can do is to keep learning about it. By doing so, you'll be able to find new ways that you can take climate action in your home, in your community, and with your government. You can watch videos, read books, listen to climate news, and so much more. I have a lot of videos on my channel about climate change, and if you want to learn about the most recent climate report released by the United Nations, click the video in the top right. 20. Talk to people about climate change. I'm all for personal action, but when my actions are able to ripple towards other people, that's when I feel like I'm making a bigger difference. One thing I learned the hard way is that you cannot pressure people into changing their habits and lifestyles for the environment. But you can talk about why you choose to take the climate actions that you do and what you might be able to learn from other people. When you start telling people about the climate actions that you take, you will be able to enlighten them and help others take action as well. And it creates a viral effect which makes a much bigger difference than any personal action could ever do. And there you have it. Those are 20 easy ways to be environmentally friendly. How many of these things are you already doing? Which ones do you think you can do better on? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Now I know that there's way more ways that you can help, but the goal of this video was to give you solutions that you can do right away that don't take a lot of effort. If you want me to make a video with more solutions that may take a bit more effort to do but are just as important, let me know in the comments. Just remember that your actions do matter and you are not powerless when it comes to climate change. There are plenty of easy ways to be more environmentally friendly, so take action today, because nature can live without us, but we can't live without nature. If you found this video insightful, please give it a like and subscribe down below. New videos are posted every Friday, either a climate change topic like this one or a really exciting outdoor adventure. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time. See ya!